Hey love, if you are easier on anybody else than you are yourself, I want to talk to you today. So I took my students this morning to a peace conference that the college I teach at has every year. It's the biggest event that we have. And we talked to a group called Life After Hate. And they touch on the idea of not just the hate from hate groups, but of hate that is directed at hate groups, you know? So if we were, the way I interpret this is if we were all staring at the earth from the sky and we really could see energy and movement, we would understand that hate is hate and neither of them are justified. So hate is hate, harm is harm, regardless for whatever the reason is. So under that premise, I want to talk to the codependent today who constantly puts other people's needs in front of her own and has a very high threshold for bullshit tolerance from other people, but a very low threshold for mistakes and things for herself or himself. So one of the things I know for sure is that a codependent, for the sake of the other person, harms themselves. And a narcissist, for the sake of themselves, harms another person, okay? So energetically, if you understand, if you go, okay, we're looking at like an alien species from the sky, looking down at how energy moves. Self-harm is harm, harm to another person is harm, and both are unjustified. And the codependent and the narcissist have this like, okay, one's projected outward, one's projected outward in a different way where we're going, okay, well, I'm projecting this outward because I'm going to fill your void and I want to offer you all of me. And that's what the codependent does. I want to offer you all of my, my own void because I believe that I can fill my own void vicariously through you by filling you. So if you are somebody who has deep compassion for somebody else and zero compassion for yourself, you are not somebody who has compassion. Okay, so I probably have said this in one of my videos before, but it still speaks to me so wholly. When I saw the Dalai Lama, somebody asked him, what would you say if you had one thing to say, but you never were able to speak your whole life, and then all of a sudden at the end of your life, you have all of this knowledge. What would you say if you could speak for the first time? And the Dalai Lama didn't say, oh my God, he didn't say some profound, amazing thing. He said, duh, if I was hungry, I would say I was hungry. He was having a sense of self, a sense of compassion for himself, for his experience, for what he needed. He wasn't negating his needs. The first thing that came out of his mouth was one of the most profound lessons for a codependent ever, because even though he had all of this information and all of this wisdom, it wasn't his primary job to share it. It was his primary job to sustain himself so that he could be in a position to share it. So that's the piece that we're missing. So when we're operating from having a lot of compassion for somebody else, and we want to be seen as nice, so we just basically let them shit all over us and we don't have any boundaries of ourselves. Or if you're the narcissist, or we're the narcissist, and we're projecting outward that we're gonna, basically take from other people because it makes us feel better. It fills our void. Both are the flip side of the same coin, okay? So compassion for self, my codependent friends, you're allowed. Here's the thing, you're allowed to have compassion for yourself. I know that you've been tricked into believing that you have to prove yourself, especially if you were raised by parents who forced you into having to prove yourself, and the signposts always change, and you know what it's like if you were raised that way, to constantly feel the void, the isolation that comes from being like constantly unseen and invalidated. The emptiness that comes from that is something that only a few of us on the planet can understand. So there's a bolder part of you that still lives inside of you that says, I deserve to be seen and heard, right? That's why you're here. You wouldn't be watching this if you didn't have that part of you being like, I am going to rebel against your bullshit because I am in here. I am in here and I will give myself a voice. So the number one way to do that, to even start hearing that voice, is to allow yourself to to hear it. To say, okay, maybe I am that bold, rebellious person who believes that I deserve something, that I deserve attention, that I deserve a voice, that I deserve, you know, whatever it is that you didn't necessarily get, that you still feel like you didn't get because you didn't deserve it. No, you always deserved it, love. You always deserved it. You just were either raised by or like with people who see, you know, they're so isolated and disconnected from themselves that there's nowhere to plug in. You know, if you're from a family or a family of origin that's like everybody is so disconnected, they're all just getting by, and you come to the earth as like a space cadet empath, and you're going, okay, well, how do I plug into this planet? How do I plug in here? And everybody around you is so disconnected, there's nowhere to even plug into. We lose ourselves trying to go, please, like, let me grab onto you because I need something to belong to. None of this makes sense to me. And we have to come into adulthood with the realization that we have to grab onto ourselves with that same approach and go, hey, I'm here with you. I'm never leaving you. We're in this together, right? And maybe that's mirror work. Maybe that's like literally looking in the mirror and being like, I'm here with you. I'm in here with you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to escape you, because that's what we do every time we are asked to, you know, do something we don't like and we don't trust ourselves to create the boundary. We escape. Oftentimes we'll make ourselves sick. So, my love, just all I really want to say is harm is harm. And compassion for the self requires compassion for the other and vice versa. But you can't, it's not a one-way street. So fullness, true alignment, integration is dependent on your willingness to be compassionate with yourself also. Okay? You're allowed. You deserve it. Bye.